Hello and welcome to Business Agenda SA.
With plenty to offer in resources, food and wine and other products, and with billions of consumers to our north, the trick for South Australian businesses will be in how to bring the two together. Coming up on today's program,
We dig down into the mining opportunities in SA.
we follow a family-run Barossa winery all the way to Shanghai.
And Justine Northey finds out about franchising.
The mining industry in South Australia is currently the largest export earner for the state, with minerals export revenue alone totalling around $3 billion. We sent Cameron out to gauge the prospects for further growth in this valuable sector.
Mining for metals in Australia started right here in the Adelaide Hills in 1841. While mining conjures up images of large multinational corporations running huge operations, the reality is that most South Australian ventures are relatively modest. And with large costs involved in starting up new ventures, a supportive government and regulatory environment is essential for the sector to continue to grow.
There is substantial infrastructure required in South Australia to realise the full potential of the industry.
While we're fortunate here at Kathmandu to have existing infrastructure in a large way with power, roads and access, many of the potential mines in South Australia don't have that, and they will need support from the government for that.
Our view is that the mining industry should pay for that. The issue is that some of those miners can't always afford to pay for that up front because of their size and their scale. However, they can afford to pay for that as users of that infrastructure. And so that requires private infrastructure providers, often with some government incentive or input in a minor way, to be able to get that infrastructure off the ground. That's what the South Australian government can actually do to ensure that we realise the benefits of mining and the benefits that will bring to jobs and the economy in South Australia.
Certainly it's difficult if a government wants to wait for 100% utilisation of an asset. It's very hard to justify it. There has to be some steps forward in terms of risk capital by both the companies and by the governments to be able to open up new areas. And that's been proven around Australia many times. New roads into areas will open up new businesses while supporting the planned ones that are coming.
Despite being an iron ore exporter for more than 100 years, South Australia still doesn't have a deep water port capable of loading the large ships necessary for the trade today. While the industry is not looking for a handout, it is calling on the government to look at creative ways it can attract financiers and infrastructure companies to invest in the state and create this gateway to the markets of the world.
The South Australian government hasn't typically seen their role as one of infrastructure provider. But the reality is that there hasn't been a Cape-sized vessel bulk commodities port built in this country without some kind of government financial intervention. We don't see it as their role to fund the whole thing. There are private providers that are prepared to build ports, however they need some of the risk underwritten. So there does need to be some kind of financial input, some financial incentive to make it possible for a port to be built. If there was a Cape-sized vessel capable port built in South Australia today, then we would have an additional 3 to 4 iron ore mines.
The federal government has promised to introduce new tax breaks for investors in small mining companies, which is exactly what is needed to help an industry which has been languishing ever since the global financial crisis.
If we can reinvigorate the junior exploration sector, not only will we see new deposits being found, but we will also see new projects being developed. This will mean new jobs, a benefit to government and a benefit to the economy overall.
Mining may seem like a simple concept, but the journey from discovery to mining is a long one, requiring years of environmental and regulatory work, as well as millions of dollars worth of geological investigation.
Hillgrove established the ownership of the tenements here back in 2004, 2005. There was feasibility work done right up until 2008 and 9, and then construction of the project and our first full year of production really in 2012. And the market and the industry in general really needs the public and the governments to understand that it takes a long time and a lot of risk capital to establish these operations. And so they need that support going right through that process.
While the benefits of mining can be measured in export dollars, there's also a flow-on to local communities. Hillgrove Resources spends locally, providing a significant economic boost as well as employment for the state.
Well, you have a business which has direct employees, and in our case around 190, but there's an add-on impact of that, and the estimate of that is at least 1 in 2, sometimes 1 in 3. So you have maybe double that number of indirect people, which impacts right around the state. We also pay royalties to the state, around $1 to $1.5 million from this project alone. And there is also then the benefit of those suppliers who come to us. They get a broadening into the resources industry and can then broaden out into other aspects of the resources around Australia.
Our predictions are that we'll continue to have good, strong, steady growth over the next decade or so. Beyond that, more brownfields development will actually see an increase like we've seen in Western Australia. Not the same overall numbers of mines because we are a smaller mining state, but nonetheless we will see an acceleration of growth in around 10 to 15 years' time.
So there you have it, a sector that, while not experiencing the boom that some other states have, has made steady progress over the past decade. The message is clear though, that with supportive state and federal governments, the sky, or should I say the blue sky, is the limit for the mining sector in SA. In his latest weekly instalment on Business Agenda SA, Professor Joran Roos examines the local innovative business.
Innovative is only one characteristic of successful firms generally, but it's a key characteristic. So an example could be a company like Redarc in Lonsdale, about 30 years of experience. They do voltage converters, they do their own R&D, they have a whole set of attitudes around how you deal with your workforce, how you have the layout of the plant. And in essence, Redarc fulfills all the classical characteristics of a successful firm. And if I repeat those characteristics, they are very focused on what you do, deep level of knowledge in your area of domain, extremely competent employees that you constantly develop, entrepreneurial and demanding management in this area, good combination of products and services that you offer around the globe, very good at innovation, close to your customers, you help them extract value of what you do in this area, and a cooperative mindset. So those are the characteristics of successful firms. Redarc is one of those South Australian companies that fulfill all these requirements for successful companies.
For more information, go to demiter.sa.gov.au. Coming up after the break, we land in China to see what it's really like to do business there.
Business Agenda SA is proudly brought to you by ANZ, the Institute of Chartered Accountants Australia, and Warman's Lawyers.
In global terms, Asia has come through the last few years of financial turbulence relatively unscathed. With rates of growth across the region far outstripping Europe and North America, it seems that Australia's neighbourhood is now the place to be. Getting on a plane to do business in a country with a different language and culture is a daunting prospect, but the rewards are there for those who are prepared to take the risk.
More than 150 years ago, the Shrapple family settled in the Barossa Valley, making the town of Bethany their home. 6 generations later, they're still there.
We originally planted vineyard here in 1852. That was the first plantings. Business changed in the 1980s. We supplied grapes to the bigger wineries, if you like. And during that time, they didn't want all that we grew. So we said, well, to value add, we had better start making wine ourselves from some of the grapes that we grow. And then about 1990, we went into distribution through different capital cities in Australia. And we had one in each state.
Jeff understood the importance of networking in order to grow the Bethany brand and set about connecting with like-minded entrepreneurs.
The first step we took was actually to work out contacts for distribution as to who would be appropriate. And because we were pretty well known just for cellar doors, we were actually approached. So we said, oh, why not? We also went as a group with the Barossa winemakers just to promote the Barossa overseas. Back in the mid-80s, we got quite a few contacts, so we said, why, here we go, we'll export as well.
As the Barossa brand grew, so did Jeff's branding of his own product. And after success in the UK and Ireland, Bethany Wines was ready to take on one of the world's fastest growing markets.
After exporting into Europe, we decided that part of our business plan would be to go into more detail into Asia. We said, hello, there's a potential market here that we're missing out on.
China is just a massive country. It's the largest consumer of food and beverages in the world.
Today's young, urbanised Chinese are a very different demographic from their parents. They have a degree of disposable income and are hungry consumers.
We were looking for someone to be our importer or exporter.
That person turned out to be Frank Pan from Wollemi Fine Wines.
We are focusing with boutique, fine family-owned small operation. And my focus is to bring the best quality wine at the lowest price to the wine lover. And China has a phenomenal potential. People have an enthusiasm to learn about the wine. I think Australia have a tremendous cultural content to offer in regarding viticulture and in wine brand and products.
When it came to finding a business partner in Australia, there was little doubt in Frank's mind about what he wanted. But of course, it had to be done the Chinese way.
I've been in South Australia many times, so I know a fair bit about what I'm looking for. I'm looking for family-owned, have a long tradition, have an impeccable reputation regarding value and quality and integrity.
And then Frank also showed interest from there on as to say, this is what I'd like to do. Because we just don't know anyone, you know, who do you trust, who do you not? And it's most important that whoever it is that is interested in our wine also is interested in the wine, not just about the pricing.
Really important thing that we see all the time is the importance of relationships. And relationships take a long time to build in China.
Building that relationship with Jeff and his family and so on, it's not smooth at all. I think as any business, regardless it's domestic or international, it's about trust.
It's not something you can just go in there and talk to someone and expect to do business in the first meeting. It might take numerous meetings to actually establish a relationship and to build the trust.
This is all about building up a partnership relationship. Unless you get to know the person, it is very difficult to know where you are.
It's two levels. One is whether you're going to find in cultural sense, the principle of value is being matched. The second is in business practicing, whether we have the similar standard or platform. And the other is obviously is like a human, you know, whether you are getting along with it. So it's quite a journey, I think.
The expansion from Bethany to Shanghai was quite a journey for Jeff, with more than 1 or 2 culture shocks to overcome.
Just seeing such a big city, like I say, there's more people live in Shanghai than the whole of Australia. So it's just a big difference to little country Bethany.
You know, China is very different to Australia. China is vast. It has very different geographic and regional cuisines, customer, all very different. Language is only one small thing.
Just so many people. The culture is so different, you know, and I couldn't see any orderly way of how you go about selling wine in these big cities.
Next week, we continue Jeff's journey and find out how he developed those links with China and how he's fared in the marketplace. Whether you're looking to import, export or set up, for more information on how to connect your business across the Asia Pacific, go to anz.com/inasia.
Coming up after the break, Justine looks at the benefits of buying and selling franchises.
In South Australia's changing employment landscape, the idea of buying a franchise is becoming more and more attractive. But why franchise and what are the potential pitfalls? Justine Northey finds out.
Most of us do business with franchises on a daily basis, like getting coffee or buying bread. But how do franchises differ from other SMEs? And if you're considering starting your own franchise, where can you go for advice?
In describing what a franchise system looks like versus a business, I would normally say that a franchise really is the pinnacle of operating a business. With a franchise system, the franchisor has created a business that is so good that they can keep replicating that business.
The benefits of buying into a franchise is that you've got the brand behind you, which can provide you with ongoing support. Probably the biggest benefit that I see is that it's like having a small business with the benefits of having the big business behind them in the form of the franchisor.
A lot of the homework's already been done for you. You know and understand the franchise, particularly if it's a well-established franchise, and more particularly the public know the franchise. So all of that work that you would have to do to establish your own business has already been done for you.
So you've found the perfect franchise and you're ready to sign the contract. What are some of the potential pitfalls?
There is usually a significant financial commitment when you become a franchisee. You may be asked to pay a considerable amount of money up front, which may have to be borrowed against your house. So there is a lot of risk for a franchisee. You need to ensure you've done your homework, you understand what you're entering into both legally and financially, and enter into it with eyes open.
In addition to that, it would be useful to talk to an accountant, a lawyer that has familiarity in franchising, just in relation to those peculiarities of undertaking business in a franchise system.
So is there a particular type of person that would make a good franchisee?
A general observation is that the franchisee needs to comply with all of the requirements of the franchise head office. So what that can mean is, unlike a small business where you're the owner and you set the direction, you've got to comply with the requirements of the franchise group.
A challenge for a number of franchisees is that they think they can build a better business and they end up providing breaches under the franchise agreement. If you are a creative and entrepreneurial business person who likes to do their own thing in their own way, a franchise business will not be appropriate for you.
Okay, got that. Now what about those other little things that no one tells you? Let's hear some more from our experts.
The major pitfall buying a franchise is not doing your homework and understanding what the franchise is all about and what your obligations as the franchisee will be over the life of the agreement.
Other considerations would include that the franchise agreement can be terminated or not renewed, and also that when you go to sell the franchise, it means that whoever buys the business needs to be approved by the franchise group.
We'd also encourage our clients, in fact, to spend a day or a few days or a week actually in one of the other franchise businesses and just sit there and get a feel for the business and see what they are doing and what is occurring. There's nothing like that hands-on intelligence of seeing what has occurred.
So there you have it, research. It seems to be the common theme shared by those in the know. So don't forget to do plenty of research before you enter into a franchise agreement.
Coming up after the break, Adelaide-based digital marketer Erica Nistico swings into the media jungle.
Business Agenda SA is proudly brought to you by ANZ, the Institute of Chartered Accountants Australia, and Warman's Lawyers.
Michelle Prack is on the sick list. She's still got her social media voice, but she's lost her real voice.
But disaster averted, as we're pleased to welcome Scout Digital Marketing's Erica Nistico to the Business Agenda family. She'll be sharing her tips on how to avoid a social media catastrophe.
We've all heard the stories of PR disasters happening on social media. You know the kind of thing I mean. An innocent or well-meaning social media campaign that just goes horribly wrong. You've probably seen examples of Facebook pages being overrun by customers critical of something a business has done. I've seen pages host what they thought was a fun competition on Twitter, only to see it taken in a completely new direction. Sometimes their followers turn out to be anything on a scale from sarcastic through to downright aggressive. While there's a lot to be gained from the two-way interaction of social media, you should always be prepared, just in case something takes a negative turn. So how do you prepare? Well, it's a bit like having an emergency drill. Brainstorm some potential things that people could say about your business, the negative things, and then draft some possible responses. Social media can be like public relations and customer service combined. You need to be prepared to draw on both skills to respond to any negativity online. By the way, you need to know that it's your responsibility to keep your Facebook page a civil space. If one of your fans posts something offensive on your page and you leave it there, you can be held responsible. They're the rules according to the Advertising Standards Bureau and the ACCC. In some cases, criticism on your social media sites may be deflected by your own loyal customers. Sometimes they will automatically jump to your defence, and that's the best case scenario, but you can't bank on it. Above all, make sure that you monitor your social media sites regularly.
Don't forget you can join in the Business Agenda conversation using @BizAgenda.
And you can add to our ever-increasing legion of lovely fans at facebook.com/businessagendaSA. And of course, episodes and other information can be found at businessagenda.tv.
On next week's program, we catch up with highly successful serial entrepreneur Matthew Mikowicz for some money-making advice.
We continue our story of Bethany Wines in China and find out how Jeff fared.
And with millions of dollars in tenders out there, we hear from the experts on how to win them.
It's been a pleasure to have your company again today.
See you next week.
Goodbye.